Now, remember too, let's say Miss Edwards over there only has 20 hours of annual leave right now. It's early in the year. She's still a fairly new employee, although I know you're much better than that. But she's having a child, and she says, well, I want to take off 12 weeks. I can't afford not to be paid for it. I'm going to earn 13, 15, 16 days this year and leave anyways. I haven't used any of it. You can be advanced up to 80 hours of leave if you're going to earn it during that year and you're expected to return to work. The only kicker on that, and this is an important one, is you have to, it's during the leave year. We had an unfortunate incident once where an individual wanted to do that. They had been there long enough and really had run out of leave, but they had an emergency at the end of the year. They couldn't advance until they got into the next year. Then you can start it with the beginning of the year. A flaw in that, but I don't think we're ever going to see that corrected because that's the OPM, and that's Office of Personnel Management regulation. But annual leave, if people, it is for the benefit of that person, and it's not really for the manager to decide when you say you have a personal emergency whether they believe it's an emergency or not. Different things for different people, and that's what they should look at. And as I always tell people, when we're not, and Belinda would know this, we're not 911 answering calls. You know what I mean? It's different if she's not there and can't, when she worked there and you can't, and you're the two people in the office, one leaves, you basically could be putting somebody's life in danger. We're not in that business. All right? We're not in that business. And do we really care? I mean, I don't. I hope most people don't. If your manager's time that day, that month is 100 days or 99.7 days. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, what difference does it make? But the important thing, yes?
Oh, just a question about the year, advance leave. Do we go by the calendar year or the fiscal year?
For leave?
Yeah, for leave.
Leave is always the calendar year when the new leave period starts. Yeah. Yeah. Which is one of those strange things. The fiscal year is different than the calendar year. Now, a thing that does come up different on it is the Family Friendly Medical Act, where you have the 12 weeks each year. That starts when you first use it. So in other words, if you went in tomorrow and said, I want to take the leave without pay because I'm taking care of my mother or whatever under the Medical Leave Act, your 12 months starts with that. So you can take off 12 weeks in the next 12 months, and then your next period would start the next time you use it. Wouldn't always start, if I started March 1st, it would end February 28th. Doesn't mean my next one starts the next March 1st. It would mean the next time I start using it again would start a new 12-month period. That's the only place that I could find that has a definition different of a year period from when you first start using it. Which again means, actually is to the advantage of the employer, so that you couldn't start it in October, run 12 weeks. Say it's January now, I got another 12 weeks and make it 24 weeks from there. So that's actually, when you think about it, favors the employer in that case. Are there any questions on annual leave? And that includes the rosters. Yes, Ms. Buchanan.
Hi, Mike. I have a question from an employee. They were asking about when they're requesting leave, and I'll give you an excellent example. Excellent example. They're on CWS, so they have their day off. But let's say they want to take, their day off is Friday for CWS, but they want to take the other Friday off. And then maybe they take another Friday off sometime after, maybe a few weeks later. That management person told them that they were setting a pattern. Because their CWS day is a Friday, if they request any other Friday, they said it appears that they're setting a pattern, and they discourage that employee from doing that.
There is no pattern. There is no pattern for annual leave. It just says the only time it talks about patterns is that people are not supposed to use their credit hour to establish a 10-hour day. So, again, that's management always spoke. The only time we talk about abuse is sick leave. You can't abuse annual leave because of the one thing I said, you still take it at the discretion of management. I mean, management has those parameters when they can approve it or not. But if I want to take off every Friday and nobody else is taking it off, that's not a pattern. You've approved it. It's the same thing when they come back and complain. Sanders is never there on, always is never there the day after holiday. Well, do you approve it? Yeah, well then there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you've approved it. It's not a pattern if it's approved. And the only time they talk about establishing a pattern of abuse is sick leave. There's nothing in the contract that talks about abuse of annual leave. And the reason is, management's the one who determines whether they approve or deny. Now, they talk about there's disciplinary action for, of course, misusing leave, like you call in and the manager says, no, I'm not approving your annual leave and you just don't show up. No, I mean, that can be, then it can lead to disciplinary action. It does talk about that. It says, when it does talk about being advanced the 80 hours, it says this provision does not apply to employees who are currently on a leave restriction or have been disciplined for leave-related offenses for the past 2 years. But there is no provision about abuse of annual leave. Because they can deny it. If they think that the person is doing that, I mean, if the person is a person calling in every Friday morning or asking in advance, there's no abuse of it. They're making a decision on whether workload permits to let you off. Patterns, when we talk about patterns, it's only about sick leave. Management misuses that, and we're not into the sick leave part yet. Any other questions on annual? Is it a follow-up question to your first one?
Kind of, sort of. Let's say that same employee, because I'm only bringing this up because I know a lot of people are not aware of this, and it has come up in some of my cases. But when an employee requests leave, the manager comes back, hands them the slip and said, we cannot approve this. But they're handing them back a slip that does not say disapproved on it. So what should that employee do?
The employee should always, it says it's supposed to be denied in writing. The employee should always say, check the block and give it back to me.
Yeah, employees don't know to request that.
Like I said, the employee should always get denials in writing. I mean, we're an agency where we give everything as denials in writing. Then the same courtesy should be that. And, it's really easy, and this is on anything. When they tell you they can't do something, say, put it in writing. And not just on leave or anything. Put it in writing, because a lot of time, the person, like I said, really doesn't know if they're blowing smoke or they're trying to do that. Part of their management training is how, I'm going to say manipulate, I'm sure it's not the word they use, but how to manipulate the employees to get them to do what you want. And that's fine. I have no problem with getting trained at. Their goal is to get as much out of you as they can. Okay? So if that's what they're trained to do, but let's be honest about it, that's all. If there's a denial, then you should ask for it, and there should be no repercussions because you said, all right, deny me in writing, or give me that order in writing, or show me where it says that.